Good evening. Here I am, sitting on a tugboat, doing my technology and learning in the classroom homework, where I do a screencast of a short lesson, and because I'm sitting on this tugboat, I've chosen a very brief history of transportation via the sea. So obviously, there was a beginning to that history, the first time someone wanted to move something from one place to another, and there was some water in the way, so they started with a simple log, and then balsa wood rafts, and then simple rowboats and sailboats and things like that, till we got to a more modern era. Here we see a picture of the clipper ship Thermopylae. Clipper ships were many were built here in Maine. They sailed around Cape Horn, which we'll talk about in a little bit, over to the Orient, where they would bring back spices and silks and teas and all sorts of things like that. The clipper ship era, grew and grew, and with the advent of steel and steel rigging, ships could get bigger and bigger. And we had ships that looked like this. This is our own United States Coast Guard bark Eagle, which is very, very similar to the ships that sailed around Cape Horn, carrying all sorts of different kinds of cargoes. They would go around Cape Horn. They, very, very strong rigs, very strong steel materials, so they were able to be built much larger and carry a lot more cargo. However, they were still using sails, so they had to go by the trade winds, which meant a lot longer route down around the treacherous waters of Cape Horn, as we see here. The picture on the right is of a ship very similar to the bark Eagle. That's an actual photograph of what it would be like. You can see most of the rail is underneath water, and they have a very small amount of sail, and they were... and this is on the Easy Passage. This is the downwind leg of Cape Horn. So you can imagine what it would be like going against the wind to get around there. The picture on the left is a slightly older ship, more of a clipper-style ship going around Cape Horn, also going downwind. But you can imagine what it would be like when they had to go upwind to get around Cape Horn. Very, very, very treacherous. As we moved on, we had the advent of the steamship. So, no more having to rely on the wind and the sails. You could go directly across an ocean. You didn't have to follow the trade winds. Trade winds being, a circular pattern of wind and sails having to do with the Coriolis effect and other things that I can talk about at a later date, that circle around in the different oceans in the North Atlantic. They just happen to be moving in a counterclockwise position, or a counterclockwise direction, rather, around the whole of the North Atlantic Ocean. So you catch the trade winds when you had sails, and as soon as you had propellers and steam engines, and then diesel engines later on, you didn't have to follow the trade winds. You could go in a straight line at about the same speed, and as the technology grew, you could go a little bit faster. And they still had to go around Cape Horn until, in 1914, the bright idea, the idea happened slightly before then with the French, but the first successful construction of a canal through the Isthmus of Panama was the thing that allowed shipping to go from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean and vice versa, without having to go all the way down around the bottom of South America where Cape Horn is. So cut hundreds and hundreds and thousands of miles off of their trade routes. They didn't have to follow the trade winds anymore, so things are moving faster and faster, back and forth across the oceans. And as the population of the Earth grew, more people needed more stuff. There's another picture of the Panama Canal here. Huge engineering feat. So as things are moving around the world, this is an older style cargo handling rig. So there was still plenty of work to be done on board these ships when it came to handling cargo. You can see there's 2 booms for each cargo hold. One is positioned with its tip hanging over the cargo hold, and the other is positioned over the dock. Now there is a line connected to a winch on the working end, and both lines go to a hook. So a line from the end of each boom to a single hook. So if you pick up on the one that's over the cargo hold, it will come straight up. If you ease the hook coming from the cargo hold, ease the line coming from the one over the cargo hold, and pull on the one that's hanging over the dock, the cargo will move in a horizontal direction over the dock, and then they can set it down onto the dock, onto those carts, or into trucks. This cargo was known as break bulk because it was basically palletized, different bits and pieces all kind of put together and had to be stowed in a hold, and all sorts of other work went into making sure that was secured for a long ocean passage. That all changed in the middle of the 20th century with the invention of the shipping container. Now, the shipping container allowed people to take smaller parcels of cargo, pack them tight into a container, didn't have to do as much work to secure that cargo because it was a smaller space, and then stack all those pieces up on top of a container ship like the one you see in the picture here, and that allows cargo to be moved on and off the ship quicker and with less effort. You don't have to go through as much paperwork because they're single units that are full of stuff. There's paperwork that goes with each one. It simplifies the whole thing. It revolutionized shipping. And a very brief explanation of the history of marine transportation from about the 1830s until the present day. Thank you for listening.